Hello everyone, today we'll be talking about a sci-fi thriller movie called Splice. This video is gonna be full of spoilers, so be aware. The movie revolves around a couple who genetically created a nightmare for themselves. Two scientists, Clive Nicoli and Elsa Kast, begin to breach moral boundaries for their genetic research. The outcome is a creature that resembles a human, but is also unsettlingly strange and was originally known as specimen H50. This human-animal hybrid, which deviates between the familiar and the repulsive, is the thing of absolute nightmares. In the corporation NERD, Nucleic Exchange Research and Development, genetic engineers Clive Nicoli and Elsa Kast want to become renowned by fusing animal DNA to produce hybrids for medical purposes. In the beginning of the movie, the scientists are shown to be working on creating hybrids. Fred and Ginger, two sizable vermiform animals meant to be mates for one another, are the results of their efforts. After successfully mating them, the couple decides to create a revolutionary human-animal hybrid, which if used properly, may offer a miraculous cure for a number of fatal conditions, including Alzheimer's and Parkinson's disease. However, their employers, Joan Corot and William Barlow, forbid them from doing such experiments and instead want them to concentrate on identifying and extracting proteins from Fred and Ginger in order to make drugs. After a few days, a public event is held to showcase what the scientists had achieved. However, when Fred and Ginger were again introduced to each other, instead of a beautiful mating scene like in the lab, it became a bloodbath as the two animals get incredibly aggressive and engage in a deadly conflict. Clive and Elsa investigated the problem and discovered that Ginger had changed into a male, but why weren't they able to identify it before the conference? Because the couple had been busy carrying out the forbidden experiments under the table. Elsa and Clive decide to conduct their research secretly. The two succeed in making a human-to-animal splice after a number of failed tries. Elsa makes the decision to bring the genetic material to the birthing chamber in order to begin the growth of their creation, inspired by their scientific breakthrough. Elsa is eager to carry out the experiment despite Clive's opposition, since it could one day provide a cure for a variety of human diseases. She reassures Clive that nothing will be discovered since they would eliminate the monster before it reaches maturity. The machine is turned on by Clive, and the conception process begins. Later, Clive is talking with a member of his staff. The young man inquires as to what Elsa and he are working on, but Clive deflects the inquiry. Elsa can be seen looking at the incubator in the background. She gets immediately alarmed when the creature's heartbeat abruptly stops, but she quickly feels reassured when it restarts. Elsa and Clive are relaxing in their apartment after finishing work and discussing upgrading to a larger place. As the discussion progresses, the two bring up having children, which clearly makes Elsa uncomfortable. An alert on Clive's phone cuts off their talk. They head straight towards the lab. The expected delivery was still months away, but it turned out that the fetus was prepared for birth. Elsa hurts her hand in the process as Clive and Elsa try to modify the machine and stop the creature from being created, but they are unable to do so. The monster is born, but Clive is able to capture it inside a plastic container before it can flee and cause more harm. Elsa is convulsing and losing consciousness as a result of her wound, which is probably poisoned by the creature's poison. He runs to aid her. She regains her usual state after receiving a medication injection from Clive. Clive and Elsa head back to their apartment. Clive and Elsa are both greatly shocked by the birth, and Clive suggests that they should destroy what they have made. Clive is determined to eliminate the creature despite Elsa's advice that they still have a lot to learn from this situation. Shortly after, they both go to the lab to kill the thing, but when they arrive they discover what seems to be a dead corpse in the incubator. Elsa investigates further and discovers that although the incubator has a lot of dead tissue, the creature's complete body is absent. She very quickly hears little, swift footsteps approaching her.
Clive?
A little, chicken-like creature approaches her and leaves an impression on her. In spite of lacking a predatory gene in its genome, Elsa and Clive are able to knock the creature out and start studying it. As they do so, they discover that the monster can excrete venom. As the creature thrives on, it becomes clear that its flawed DNA is causing it to age quickly. The hybrid ages physically much more quickly than people do, while cognitively maturing like a human toddler. Elsa gives it the name Dren when it uses toys to form the letters NERD and notices the acronym on her blouse. Gavin, Clive's brother, finds Dren but runs away when she leaps on him. Elsa observes that Dren has a fever and uses a large, cold water sink to try to soothe her down. Clive keeps Dren submerged. Dren is made to utilize her gills as a result, indicating that she is amphibious. Elsa and Dren have a motherly relationship. Elsa and Clive make the decision to move Dren to the old farmhouse that belonged to Elsa's mother. Dren rushes to look for food as soon as they get at the property. Elsa and Clive move to the farmhouse after setting up Dren's room in the barn. As they unlock the door, they find a dirty room with a bed, a solitary chair, and a bucket, which suggests that Elsa was raised in an abusive environment. Dren, on the other hand, is dissatisfied with her life on the farm. Dren grows defiant since her creators are often absent from the office, and there is just a cat to keep her company, which Clive accepts really well. Elsa, on the other hand, is extremely concerned by it. Elsa chooses to remain at home and keep Dren company in order to keep Dren at bay. Elsa lavishes Dren with jewelry and makeup, which her mother sternly forbidden when Elsa was a little girl, in order to make her happy. As Elsa looks on the makeup table, she discovers a lot of drawings of Clive but none of her. Elsa's discovery makes Dren uneasy, and she flees to her cat, which Elsa takes away while explaining to Dren that she can't have everything she wants, since part of growing up is realizing that she can't. Clive finds Dren down when he gets home and attempts to cheer her up by playing some music and dancing with her. Clive had unwelcome feelings for Dren while they were dancing, and he soon understood that Elsa had used some of her DNA in the process of making Dren. He confronts Elsa, they fight, and Clive walks away. Elsa tries to give Dren the cat she had taken away before Clive leaves, but Dren kills it, prompting Elsa to smack Dren across the face. Dren attacked Elsa in an attempt to get the barn keys so she could go, but she was struck unconscious and restrained to the operation table. Because of Dren's aggressive actions, Elsa begins to strip off her jewels and clothing. She then takes off her stinger. Elsa takes the stinger back to the lab to identify the proteins and create them for her job before Clive gets there. The following day, when Clive returns to the farm to look for Elsa, Dren greets him and makes an attempt to seduce him. Clive initially rejects Dren's advances, but eventually gives in and the two engage in sexual activity. Dren had evidently grown a new stinger after having her old one amputated during the act. Elsa walks in on them to Clive's horror and leaves in disgust. Clive rushes to her aid. The two of them get in their car and head to their former apartment, where they argue about Elsa's thoughts on Dren. It is made clear that Elsa wanted to have a kid artificially rather than naturally because she was anxious to have control over the child, a yearning that undoubtedly developed as a result of her traumatic upbringing. When the two return to the home after their disagreement, they discover Dren dead in her bed. Dren's body is buried and her clothing is burned. Elsa discovers Dren's self-portrait sketches as she is moving her belongings. Gavin and Barlow eventually make their way there after learning about Elsa's and Clive's secret. Dren unexpectedly emerges before they can start talking, now having a more manly appearance, implying that Dren too, like Ginger, changed into the other gender. Dren turns violent, murdering Barlow and Gavin while attacking Clive. Elsa succeeds in fleeing into the woods, but she is immediately caught by Dren and is unable to get very far. Dren attacks Elsa, knocks her to the ground, and forces intimacy with her, but Clive stops him by stabbing Dren in the back with a branch. Elsa hits a boulder on Dren's skull to end the beast once and for all after Dren kills Clive. Elsa is still employed by Newsteed in the wake of all this, and she has been given permission to carry with her investigation into the proteins found in Dren's body. She is obviously pregnant as she stands up, raising the chance that she could be carrying Dren's kid.